There are people who bring light into our lives, and then there are those who drain it away. Some people build you up while others slowly dismantle your spirit. You don't always see it at first, because toxicity doesn't arrive wearing a label. It arrives cloaked in charm, in shared laughter, and sometimes even love. With time, you begin to feel it in your body, in your heart, and in your soul. Toxicity doesn't shout, it whispers. And those whispers echo louder than any scream. Let us speak today, not to hate, not to judge, but to awaken. Let's talk about the 7 major signs of toxic people, not so we can become bitter, but so we can become better. Not so we can isolate, but so we can protect our peace. One of the most subtle yet powerful signs of toxic people is their constant role as the victim. No matter what happens, they find a way to make themselves the center of sorrow and injustice. When you first encounter this behavior, it might seem like empathy or vulnerability. They share their stories of hardship, their struggles, their pain, and you feel drawn to comfort them. But over time, you begin to notice a pattern. No matter the situation, they never take responsibility for their actions. Instead, they shift blame onto others, onto circumstances, even onto you. Living with someone who constantly plays the victim is like living in a storm that never clears. Their pain becomes a shield, preventing you from holding them accountable or addressing the real issues beneath the surface. When they hurt you, intentionally or not, they turn the table so that you end up apologizing, questioning your own reality, and doubting your feelings. They twist conversations until you are the one apologizing for something you never did wrong. This manipulation is a subtle, emotional trap that drains your confidence and your sense of truth. What makes this behavior even more dangerous is the way it elicits guilt. Because you see their pain, because they wear it like a badge of suffering, you feel an instinct to protect them. You want to heal their wounds, to make things right, even at your own expense. They count on this kindness, knowing that your empathy will become a leash holding you back. Their victimhood becomes a tool of control. If you don't comply, if you question them, if you set boundaries, suddenly you are the antagonist in their story of victimization. And so the victim role is a cycle that never ends. It is a story they tell again and again, and you become a reluctant actor in their drama. But here's the truth. True healing and growth come from owning your mistakes, from looking inward, not from blaming others endlessly. A person who genuinely wants to grow will sometimes be vulnerable, but will not build their identity around pain and blame. When you see someone who refuses to move beyond victimhood, who uses it as a shield and a weapon, that is a red flag. A sign that their presence in your life may not be healthy. The danger is that this behavior can slowly erode your own sense of self. You start to doubt your memories, your perceptions, your feelings. You question whether you are too harsh, too insensitive, or simply the bad person in their narrative. This self-doubt is exactly what toxic people rely on. They need you confused and second-guessing yourself so that they remain in control of the story, and ultimately of you. It takes courage to see through this mask, to recognize that not every story is as simple as it seems, and that sometimes the victim is choosing that role because it serves them. But when you do, you reclaim your power. You no longer apologize for their pain or carry their burdens. Instead, you honor your own truth and begin to create space for relationships built on accountability, respect, and mutual care. Being around certain people feels like carrying a heavy weight on your shoulders, even when nothing physically strenuous has happened. Toxic people have this unique ability to drain your energy without you even realizing it at first. Their presence leaves you feeling exhausted, depleted, and emotionally worn out. It's not just about physical tiredness. It's the kind of fatigue that seeps deep into your spirit, making it hard to think clearly, smile genuinely, or hold on to your peace. This invisible exhaustion is a subtle form of toxicity that can sneak into your life, disguised as friendship, love, or loyalty. When you're with someone who drains your energy, conversations feel one-sided. You find yourself constantly giving time, your empathy, your patience, while receiving little to nothing in return. Their stories dominate every discussion. Their problems become your problems, and their moods dictate the atmosphere around you. It's as if you are a battery plugged into their outlet, and they suck away your charge, leaving you dimmer and dimmer each time. Over time, this imbalance takes a toll, and you begin to lose the joy and vitality that once defined your interactions. This emotional drain often happens because toxic people thrive on control, drama, or chaos. They may create crises where none exist, magnify small issues into mountains, or push you to constantly fix their emotional turmoil. When you're always on edge, trying to soothe their anxiety or absorb their negativity, your own emotional reserves start to run dry. You may even catch yourself feeling anxious or unhappy before you meet them, anticipating the exhaustion that comes with their company. This anticipation is your intuition warning you to protect yourself. Another layer to this energy drain is how toxic people rarely acknowledge the impact they have on you. They may dismiss your feelings or accuse you of being too sensitive when you express your need for space or rest. Sometimes they guilt trip you for wanting to step back, framing it as abandonment or betrayal. This lack of respect for your boundaries only deepens the fatigue, because now you're not just exhausted, you're conflicted and torn between caring for yourself and appeasing them. The effect of this energy drain can ripple into other areas of your life. You might find yourself withdrawing from other relationships, losing interest in activities you once loved, or struggling to focus on your goals. It's a slow erosion of your well-being, like a leak that you don't notice until the water level is dangerously low. Your body and mind need rest and replenishment, but toxic people often make you feel undeserving of peace, convincing you that your role is to carry their burdens. Recognizing that someone is draining your energy is the first step toward healing. It's an act of self-love to notice how you feel before, during, and after interactions with certain people. Your emotions are your compass, guiding you toward what nourishes your soul and away from what depletes it. When you honor this inner guidance, you begin to reclaim your energy, your most precious resource, and protect it fiercely from those who would take it without giving back. One of the quietest yet most painful signs of toxic people is their refusal to celebrate your successes. When you achieve something, no matter how big or small, they don't cheer you on. Instead, their smiles feel forced, their congratulations empty or delayed. Sometimes they respond with silence, or worse, with criticism disguised as concern. This lack of genuine joy for your growth is a subtle poison that chips away at your confidence and makes you question whether your happiness is truly welcome. It's heartbreaking when the people closest to you, those you expect to be your biggest supporters, become the ones who dim your light. They might feel threatened by your progress or jealous of your achievements, and instead of lifting you up, they pull you down. Their envy can show in subtle ways: a dismissive comment, a change in tone, or even a sudden shift in their attitude. These moments make you feel like your victories are not enough, or worse, that they come at the expense of your relationships. Toxic people rarely understand that celebrating others' successes does not diminish their own worth. True generosity of spirit means being able to rejoice in someone else's light without fear of losing your own. But with toxic individuals, there's often a scarcity mindset, a belief that there is only so much success, joy, or love to go around. Because of this, they guard their territory jealously and see your happiness as a threat rather than a blessing. The absence of celebration is also a sign of emotional disconnection. When someone truly cares for you, they feel joy in your joy. They want to see you thrive because your growth enriches the relationship. But toxic people often lack this empathy. Their focus remains on themselves, their struggles, their needs, their insecurities, making it impossible for them to fully appreciate your accomplishments. This one-sided emotional engagement leaves you feeling isolated, even when surrounded by people. Over time, the pattern of not being celebrated can erode your motivation and self-esteem. You begin to question whether your efforts matter, whether your dreams are worth pursuing. You may start hiding your successes or downplaying your achievements to avoid the discomfort of their coldness or resentment. But your light is not meant to be hidden. It deserves to shine boldly, unapologetically, and fully. Recognizing this toxic behavior is a step toward protecting your heart and your dreams. You deserve to be surrounded by those who uplift you, who cheer loudly for your wins, and who believe in your potential as fiercely as you do. When you learn to spot those who don't celebrate you, you create space for relationships that honor your growth and fuel your spirit. Toxic people have a sharp tongue that never seems to tire, and their criticism is rarely meant to help. It's meant to hurt, control, or belittle. When you're around them, you quickly learn that no matter what you do, it's never quite good enough. Their words are like arrows aimed at your self-esteem, piercing through your confidence with relentless precision. What's worse, their criticism often comes disguised as concern or constructive feedback, making it difficult to separate truth from manipulation. These constant criticism chips away at your sense of worth little by little. You start to internalize their negative comments and begin to doubt your abilities, your choices, and even your value as a person. Instead of feeling supported, you feel scrutinized. Every decision, every action is met with disapproval or a backhanded remark. The person who should be your ally becomes your harshest judge, and this toxic pattern creates an environment where fear of failure replaces courage to grow. It's important to recognize that constructive criticism, when given with kindness and respect, is meant to build you up, not tear you down. Toxic criticism is different. It attacks the core of who you are, rather than focusing on a specific behavior or situation. It is relentless, unforgiving, and often public, aiming to embarrass or undermine rather than uplift. Toxic people use criticism as a weapon to keep you feeling small and insecure so that they maintain power in the relationship. This behavior also breeds a climate of constant anxiety. You may find yourself walking on eggshells, afraid to speak your mind or take risks because you anticipate the barrage of negativity that will follow. Your creativity and spontaneity shrink under the weight of their judgment. You become cautious, guarded, and less authentic, simply trying to avoid their disapproval instead of pursuing your true desires. What makes this even more painful is that the criticism often comes from people who are supposed to care about you. Family members, close friends, partners, or colleagues. When the people who are meant to nurture your growth become the source of your pain, it fractures your sense of trust and safety. You begin to question whether you are lovable just as you are, or if you need to constantly prove your worth. Understanding this pattern is the first step toward healing. You deserve relationships where your strengths are recognized and your mistakes are met with compassion, not harsh judgment. You deserve the freedom to be imperfect without fear of relentless criticism. When you learn to identify this toxic behavior, you empower yourself to set boundaries and protect your self-worth from being chipped away by words that do not serve your soul. One of the most insidious tactics toxic people use to maintain control is the weaponization of guilt. They make you feel responsible for their happiness, their problems, and even their pain. When you try to set boundaries or choose what's best for your well-being, they respond with heavy doses of guilt, as if you have committed a grave betrayal. This guilt isn't natural or fair. It's manufactured and strategically placed to keep you tethered to their demands and manipulations. Guilt has a powerful way of silencing us. It makes us question our choices and wonder if we are selfish for wanting to prioritize ourselves. Toxic people know this well, and they exploit it masterfully. They remind you of sacrifices they have made, the things they have endured for you, or how your actions have hurt them. These reminders are meant to twist your sense of compassion into a cage, where you feel trapped and unable to break free without feeling like the villain. This manipulation can make you lose sight of your own needs and desires. You might find yourself constantly apologizing for wanting space, for saying no, or for simply living your life on your terms. Toxic people blur the lines between genuine care and control, making it difficult to distinguish love from manipulation. In their world, love is conditional. It's given only when you comply with their expectations and disappear when you assert your independence. The burden of guilt also weighs heavily on your emotional and mental health. Carrying the responsibility for someone else's feelings or problems is exhausting and unfair. It drains your energy and saps your joy. Over time, You may become so consumed by their needs and feelings that your own voice fades into the background. You forget that your happiness matters just as much as theirs, and that true relationships honor the well-being of both people. Recognizing when guilt is being used as a tool for control is a crucial step toward reclaiming your freedom. Guilt should never be the price you pay for setting healthy boundaries or choosing your own path. It's important to remind yourself that you cannot carry the weight of another person's emotions at the cost of your own peace. Your decisions about what is right for you are valid and deserve respect. Toxic people often resist losing this control because it threatens the dynamic that keeps them comfortable. They may escalate their attempts to induce guilt, intensifying their emotional pressure or withdrawing affection to punish you. But the power to break free lies within you, to see through the manipulation, to stand firm in your truth, and to choose self-care over codependency. When you do, you begin to rediscover your strength and the freedom to live authentically. One of the most exhausting traits of toxic people is their unwavering belief that they are always right. Conversations with them rarely feel like a true exchange of ideas, but rather a one-sided declaration of their perspective. No matter what you say or how carefully you explain your point of view, their minds are closed to anything but their own version of truth. This rigidity creates an environment where dialogue becomes impossible and understanding feels out of reach. When someone is always right, it's not just about being confident or sure of themselves, it's about needing to dominate the narrative. They cannot tolerate being challenged or shown a different perspective because that would threaten their sense of control and superiority. This need to be right at all costs often masks deep insecurities and fears of vulnerability. Admitting fault or uncertainty would mean lowering their defenses, and toxic people rarely allow themselves that kind of openness. This dynamic makes communication feel like walking a tightrope. You learn to guard your words carefully, to choose your battles, and sometimes even to hold back your true feelings for fear of triggering their defensive or aggressive reactions. The relationship becomes less about mutual respect and more about survival. You may find yourself questioning whether your experiences or opinions matter because in their world, the only truth is theirs. Their insistence on always being right also stifles growth and change. Real growth comes from the ability to listen, to reflect, and to adjust one's views when presented with new information. But toxic people resist this because it requires humility, and humility is a threat to their carefully constructed image of infallibility. This unwillingness to evolve keeps relationships stuck in cycles of conflict, misunderstanding, and frustration. Moreover, the toxic need to be right often turns into dismissiveness or contempt toward anyone who disagrees. They may belittle your thoughts, interrupt you, or speak over you to assert dominance. This behavior doesn't just hurt your feelings, it chips away at your confidence and silences your voice. When someone consistently invalidates your perspective, you start to doubt your own judgment and question your place in the relationship. Understanding this pattern helps you see why some relationships feel draining and oppressive. When faced with someone who is always right, it's not a healthy debate, it's a battle for control. Recognizing this can empower you to set boundaries, to protect your voice, and to seek connections where your thoughts and feelings are truly heard and respected. One of the most dangerous traits of toxic people is their ability to make you doubt yourself, to sow seeds of uncertainty, so deeply that you begin to question your own reality. This isn't always done through outright accusations or insults. Often, it's a slow, subtle erosion of your confidence and trust in your own judgment. They twist facts, rewrite history, and challenge your memories until you find yourself asking, am I really overreacting? Was it really that bad? Maybe I'm the problem. This self-doubt is their most powerful weapon because it keeps you confused, dependent, and vulnerable. When someone consistently makes you doubt yourself, it becomes harder to trust your instincts and decisions. You start to second-guess everything, from the way you communicate to the choices you make in your life. This internal battle is exhausting because it feels like a war within your own mind. The clarity you once had becomes clouded by their relentless questioning and subtle undermining. You may even begin to apologize for your feelings, as if your emotional responses need their approval to be valid. This form of manipulation is often called gaslighting, and it can leave deep emotional scars. Toxic people use it to maintain control, making you rely on their version of reality instead of your own. When you lose faith in yourself, you also lose the power to stand up for your needs, your boundaries, and your truth. You become more malleable to their demands and more likely to stay trapped in unhealthy dynamics longer than you should. The emotional toll of this self-doubt extends far beyond the immediate relationship. It can affect your confidence in other areas of life, your career, friendships, and even your sense of identity. You might avoid taking risks or pursuing opportunities because you fear making mistakes or being judged. This paralysis keeps you stuck, and the toxic person's influence continues, even when they are not physically present. Rebuilding trust in yourself after this kind of manipulation takes time and patience. It means learning to listen to your inner voice again, to honor your feelings without apology, and to recognize that your perceptions are valid. Surrounding yourself with supportive people who affirm your reality and encourage your growth can help restore this trust. Remember, your truth matters, and your instincts are gifts meant to guide you, not be silenced. When you recognize how toxic people erode your self-confidence, you begin to reclaim your power. You start to see that their attempts to make you doubt yourself are not reflections of your worth, but reflections of their own insecurities and need for control. This awareness is the first step toward healing and creating space for relationships that nurture rather than diminish your sense of self. Recognizing these signs is not about labeling others or fostering bitterness. It's about protecting your heart and honoring your worth. It takes courage to see toxicity clearly and to choose yourself over pain and confusion. Remember, you deserve relationships that lift you up, that celebrate your light, and that nourish your soul. You have the power to set boundaries, to walk away from what no longer serves you, and to surround yourself with those who respect and cherish the real you. Healing begins the moment you decide to value your peace more than the approval of those who drain you. When you stand firm in your truth, you open the door to freedom, a freedom to live authentically, to grow without fear, and to love without limits. May you have the strength to recognize toxic patterns, the wisdom to protect your spirit, and the grace to embrace relationships that bring joy and light into your life. Your journey toward healing and self-respect is a testament to your resilience. Hold on to that truth and let it guide you toward a future where you are celebrated, supported, and loved, not despite your flaws, but because of your beautiful, imperfect, and powerful self.